Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle, and I'm here to talk more today about CSS. More specifically, today we're going to go over CSS transitions. Working with CSS is actually one of my favorite things. It's kind of more self-explanatory with code. It's cool to be able to see like your images and things come to life, and transitions is no different. Let me show you a couple examples. One is for our web app actually that we're using. The other one is actually just one I did personally. This one it's gonna be a little harder to see. So you see this image right here. It's just a waterfall, and if you hover over it, it says you're not gonna be able to read this, but it says don't go chasing waterfalls. You can probably read it right there. Actually, let me put this over my other screen. You can't see that actually. Sorry. It says don't go chasing waterfalls, and that's when you hover over it. So that's something you can do with transitions. There's many things you can do. Let's go. I'm going to show you my budget app real quick. Our budget app that I'm doing with my group. And one thing we're going to implement is profiles. So if you hover over my face, you see my name, Kyle Schmidt, and that's really what transitions can do. It's pretty cool for CSS background wise because it's a little bit of code and it cleans up a little bit of the area that around you. Instead of having my name just under here, you just hover over. I can even give like a quick profile of who I am on here if I wanted to. One thing with transitions you have to watch out for though is probably um, the you have to make sure the text can match with the background. White on here is not too bad; you can read it. Um, but if you like prior with this picture, white's a little hard to see. Let's click off it real quick. You can't really read that, so I should have chose black. That's one thing you need to watch out with transitions. Um, so there's that. Let me show you a little bit of the code in the background of it. Let me zoom in real quick. Hopefully you guys are still able to see what I'm doing. I haven't really checked my. There we go. Yep, we're good. Let me zoom in. There we go. So you see here, for this, I don't recommend putting CSS on the same code as your HTML file. I always like to separate it, which normally I would do, but with I thought it'd make it easier to create through this way. But if you look at some other things that I do, I always put it in a different file so you can locate it somewhere else. But for purposes of this, I'm just gonna show you how I did it here. Let me scoot over. Sorry, this zoom in thing is not really working for me. You see, I created a couple div boxes. So this is the dot box is actually going to be for our image. And so if you go down here, you see the class box, and that's where our image is going to go. That's pretty self-explanatory. We've worked with a lot of that before. Positioning actually for transition is actually very important. It's something you have to play with. Honestly, I don't understand relative and absolute like super well. I know when I play with them that it works this way. Because with the inner box is what that's going to do. That's the thing when I hover over it, it's what it's going to show. And so when you hover over the inner box, it's going to show absolute. And so another thing to know with CSS and what a lot of people don't understand, you're not actually seeing my screen right now. I'm sorry. Now you probably are. Let me kind of go back up. So this zoom in thing is not really working. So I'm actually going to exit out of this. Hope you guys aren't really going to be able to see this super well. But right here, this is what I showed you before the box. And so the inner box is what's going to happen when you hover over it. And three of the key main points when you're actually designing something, obviously for a class like this, where probably I'm sure most of us are using Google Chrome, it doesn't matter. But you need to make sure that each one is configured to a certain web browser. So when we see things like WebKit, usually that's for Google Chrome. Moz is obviously for Mozilla Firefox. There's also other things you can use for like Opera or Internet Explorer, which honestly I don't prefer to use Internet Explorer ever. But I think two of the main ones for web design are probably Chrome and Mozilla Firefox. And so these are three. Yeah, these are mandatory to have when you're working with these things. If you're design a website for a client, you want to make sure you use these things because what if they don't use Chrome, they might use Internet Explorer or Firefox. And so when we hover over it, as we saw before, let's go back to that. Let's see, where's everything at? When we hover over it, you see it does that. You can see the name. my name when it pops up. And so there's many other things you can do for transitions. Obviously, this is one I stuck to because I felt like it was more applicable to our website that we were building and for our personal use. And I thought it was a really cool idea. And so really that's a CSS transitions. And as you work more with it, you can probably get more complicated with it, do some amazing things. And that's what's great about CSS. And I hope you got something from this video. Bye.